Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Hound of Doom event in which the Barghast is added to the game. This event is pretty relevant as this is the first event since the Kingdom just came out last Friday, so you could easily be able to get all the new content in the event keys. It's also pretty relevant because they did one of the largest nerfs ever today, which we'll be going over in a moment, which some of you probably have already seen. But anyways, let's get into this. So we have two things that we can actually get this week instead of just one. Of course, we have the standard epic troop, or the troop that ends up coming in. This is an epic, so it does only cost 400 glory each, meaning they're only 200 glory per arcane trait stone, making it very viable to go and stock up on a bunch of brown-red trait stones if you need it for anything. Brown-red, earlier on in the game, you'd use it for Lava Elemental, and later on in the game, you'd use it for something like Earl Fire Mantle and Shagra, as well as Bloodhammer. But as far as the Barghast itself, it's kind of like a mini Yagwe assisting troop. It's also kind of like Salamander, except actually good. It's a 13 mana cost, so same as Salamander and I think a few other troops, but 13 mana cost. Deals damage to an enemy and then the one below, so there has to be one below it for it to actually hit the double. And then it burns and Fairy Fires both of them, which is pretty relevant. Burn is 3 damage per turn, and Fairy Fire makes abilities do 50% more damage, so anything that happens to also have a mechanic that hits 2, or even AoE, or anything like that, will synergize relatively well with it. There's also not too many good, like, mid-range Fairy Fire options, and this is a really good mid-range Fairy Fire option that you can easily just get for 400 glory this week. And even if it's not, it's epic, so it's a little bit cheaper than getting some of the legendary ones, like Queen Titania, for instance. But as far as its abilities, it's also somewhat relevant in that it gets a explosion right off the bat, pretty much like every other thing from Sin of Maraj. It has a explode at the start of battle, and that one explode could give you some cascades, could give you some mana. Well, obviously it's going to give you some amount of mana, but it could give you some really good cascades, and if it gets really lucky, could just really do a lot more than a few mana. But it's pretty helpful. Anything that has this is always pretty much, if you can somehow fit it into your team, really viable to actually have at least one of these explosions, just because it's an automatic free explosion that could, while more often than not, it's not going to do much, but it can do really, really high impact when synergized with like half mana starts and other mechanics. But anyways, that's him. It's definitely worth considering as a newer player. As far as the tome, I'm actually going to go over to our troops to go and look at that real quick because it'll be easier to bring out. So this is the first tome that actually has damage on it, oddly enough. Basically, all the tomes haven't really had any way to really utilize the magic, which is odd because it gains a lot of magic from actually being upgraded. But it deals some damage to an enemy, and if there are 13 or more purple gems, it'll summon a lot of Sin of Maraj troops, 1 to 3 of them. And I could do absolutely any of them, including the legends, so it could also do the commons and stuff, and yeah, not be as viable. But then again, Sloth isn't too bad within the kingdom. Even if you did randomly get that, that's not too bad, especially if your team actually had mana immunity. But for the most part, this weapon's pretty useless. The only reason I have it upgraded is because 5-star of the Kingdom actually requires it, having one of the weapons upgraded. As far as what it does, it just mainly gains a lot of magic. It actually gains 3 of them off of its abilities. It has this 10% summon, which isn't horrible, though it could overwrite your other summons. Though if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't take priority. The summon on your ability itself takes priority over the ingot related one. So it'll do the summons and then it will summon the Quasit. So I don't believe the Quasit blocks, so I have not tested it extensively enough to know 100% because, well, it's only 10% and you don't really have too many instances where that's actually occurring. Other than that, it gains 1 additional magic every single cast, drains 3 from the first enemy, and then explodes a random skull, which is probably the most relevant thing about it because it can get some of its mana back. But for the most part, not really a weapon you'd really ever touch. But as I mentioned, it is required for max Sin of Maraj. What's kind of nice is you only really need 8 troops now, as well as like a few other pretty easy tasks, so it's a lot easier to get it to 5 stars in the past. I was actually going to open some event keys today, but I forgot. You don't actually need to have 8 troops completely maxed to get 5-star anymore. The only really hard thing you have to do is max out 1 weapon, and since there's only 2 legendary weapons currently, that one useless anti-divine one and the one I just showed, the book, as long as you get one of those upgraded, you'll be able to get 5 stars, and that's pretty relevant because you end up getting not only the higher tributes and everything, but you also get 1 additional attack off of having that, so it is worth considering if you are capable of doing that. That being said, don't forget, there is event keys. Within the event keys, it has all the Ultra Rare Plus from the most recent Kingdom. Highly advised to go and do this if you didn't already get them earlier. That includes all of the new Sin stuff, that's at least of that rarity. It includes 5 of them. The 3 lower ones it obviously doesn't, but it includes everything except Envy, Greed, and Sloth. Those are the only 3 that it does not have in a drop table. The other 5, Barghast, Lust, Pride, Gluttony and Wrath are all within the drop table. So if you've been wanting to get any of those, or if you haven't already, or you just want to get more copies of them, they are within the event key drop table right now. Of them, the only ones that are actually in the event key drop table that you'd really be using a lot is Gluttony earlier on in the game, or even just in general, and Wrath later in the game for a bunch of skull spam various teams, since he does tend to synergize with that. And we'll be covering a video on teams of the entire kingdom later today. Other than that, let's go over into the event objectives. So we have 10% to all Sin, as well as 10% to all Beasts. I don't believe there's many overlap. I'm pretty sure the only overlap's actually the troop itself, the epic troop that ended up coming in. Speaking of that, if you use the epic troop this week in PvP, you will end up getting twice the amount of trait stones. So if you've still been needing to go on the trait stone grind, might be good to bring that into casual PvP and just go grind that out. And other than that, we got to do a bunch of treasure hunt this week, and we'll end up getting quite a few gems, as well as some gem keys to go with it. I'm not quite sure why it's actually showing Luther here. It should be, this might be a glitch, but I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the new epic from the most recent kingdom. I don't know why it isn't. Normally it is whenever it does that, but that's strange. Anyways, it's Luther apparently. But yeah, other than that, let's go under the, I guess we'll go over the rebalance next. So, as some of you may have seen, dun dun dun, nerfs. Okay, so now it's a good time to go over what refunds actually are as well. So refunding, you can at any point you want refund a troop if it gets nerfed, or not at any point you want, but whenever you see like this down arrow, this means that the troop ended up getting nerfed. Basically, if you click on the refund button and then click refund, you will get all the souls, all the trait stones that you ended up putting into your troop. You will not get back ascension or anything like that, but if you see right over here, you'll see we'll get the full amount of souls and all the trait stones that originally went into it. They do this whenever something gets nerfed, just so that you can get some of the resources back. But do keep in mind, any orbs that you used, any ascension that you did, or anything like that will not be refundable. Only the souls and the trait stones specifically. But anyways, let's go back to the refund section. Hopefully the other one's still there. Good. Let me actually go and get it back upgraded, because I actually do want to have it around. So let me go and re-upgrade you, go do the other thing. Also, if you wanted to, this would be a good way to go do a orb transfer. One thing that you can actually do, let's say, for example, with these two mythics, if you wanted to, is refund them, but then do an orb to upgrade them. So maybe like that major orb of orange, and then you'll end up getting a lot of their trait stones, and you could end up doing it that way to basically just get yourself a bunch of resources, essentially. But anyways, as far as these three, what ended up happening to them and why they're refundable is they got nerfed heavily. This no longer has cleanse, and it also now has a 40% mana start instead of 50. As far as Infernus, this actually got hit the least. It now has a 24 mana cost instead of a 22. As far as all these three nerfs, this is actually the least consequential one, mainly because he already was gaining quite a bit of mana. He has the 5 explosions into his own Firestorm, so he's pretty much already good on mana. He also never got nerfed from the buff ages ago, so this is basically just the rebalance that he's been needing for a while. So the Infernus one, not so bad, but a Divine Spala got hit hard, and Ubistet, basically you're going to be using Ketris the Bull or something else now if you want to kind of use an Ubistet, but biggest thing that they did is his boost ratio is, why on earth does it say that? It's now a 1 in 6 boost ratio. I have no clue why it says 17 out of 100. I guess that is 1 out of 6 if you break it down. But it's now a 1 in 6 boost ratio instead of a 1 to 4. So for every 6 attack that's within the battle, he will have 1 additional damage. Other than that, he now has a 24 mana cost instead of a 22. So not only is it harder to hit with him, it also costs 2 more mana. This is a lot more relevant on him because he ends his turn every single time he does his ability, making it a lot harder to kind of spam it. So yeah, I wouldn't really bother with Ubistet much too more. There is a hero class that's coming in that's Roshka this Friday, so it might be able to synergize with that. But as far as a 4 times Divine team is concerned, I would probably consider not using Ubistet anymore. Ketris or some kind of other option would most likely be the better thing to go with. Also, let me just go show this real quick, because I guess we'll go waste an orb for this just so I could show it properly. So basically, if we go refund this, one thing that we can go do now, so as you can see, what we basically just did is we refunded our Infernus, assuming we already had it traded, and we ended up getting all these resources back. We got the 7,770 souls, and we ended up getting all of these trait stones. Basically, what you can go do now, if you wanted these trait stones, let's say there was a legend, like a Dragon Soul or something else that you wanted red-purple for, or, you know, anything like that. If you wanted to go use these Arcane trait stones for, like, a legend or something, or the Celestials, or really any of these for that, you basically just do this, and now you go use the 2 bigger orbs on them, because, of course, mythics have the best amount of value that you can end up getting from it. So you basically just refund a mythic, go and put the 2 orbs on them, and you'll be good to go. So basically, we just go and use this. That just got us 7,770 souls, since we already refunded the other thing. And we'll go use one of the Orb of Wisdoms, and this got all the Treat Stones that you saw on the previous screen. So now he's back to fully upgraded, but we actually took the resources from him, so we still have all of those resources in our inventory. The 21 red yellows, the 21 red purples, and the 7,770 souls, as well as these other few Trait Stones. So you can basically do that as well if you want to. It's worth considering if you want to get at least some value off of this nerf, if you already had them upgraded, so it's something to consider. Anyways, I already went over chess, guild, game. So, as far as things that are event related this week, we do not have a Thursday class event because instead we are getting a new hero class on Friday, as I kind of already mentioned. It's going to be the Rashka hero class for Pride Lands. This will probably be pretty good with Ubistet, as well as, oh, I completely forgot her name off the top of my head. The red purple from the kingdom. That's actually really bad that I forget her name, but the legend red purple from that kingdom, she does the double convert. Sakima, there we go, is the other thing that would synergize pretty well with that. But those two, Ubistet and Sakima, are going to be pretty good to use with that synergy. We still don't know everything that it'll do, but we'll find out this Friday. Other than that, we're getting, for whatever reason, a repeat on this cat. We've actually already had this before. It was the very first pet event ever, but apparently we have it again this week. It's only EXP, so it's pretty irrelevant. Other than that, Soulforge! Soulforge has almost nothing relevant. There's one in particular that kind of is, and that is the, where'd it go? It's just here, Ketris. As I mentioned, Ketris the Bull is basically the new Ubistet, now that Ubistet is nerfed. It deals a high amount of damage to a single target, and then does adjacent damage. It is boosted based on its attack, life, and armor, as well as its magic, obviously, since it's a cast itself. So basically, every stat it has boosts its ability. So it having very high stats makes it does even more damage, but as it takes damage over time, it'll be losing its stats and losing its damage potential. It's a kind of troop that if you're ahead, you stay very far ahead, but if you start falling behind, it is really hard to make a comeback. So overall, he actually has more damage than what a Ketris has, even pre-nerf. The main reason why he wasn't really used as much is because he has a really high liability if he gets hit with a lot of damage, and he is not good at making a comeback at all. But he's worth considering, as he's basically now the new Ubistet if you don't feel like using Ubistet anymore due to the nerf. But yeah, it's also really good in red spam teams since it does gain a lot off its final trade off of red. But for the most part, it's still kind of more towards the slightly above average range. It's not one of those mythics that you'd definitely want to get. Things like Infernus and Fair Shra and stuff would still be in that category. But Ketris the Bull is more towards one of the ones you'd get as like your 6th or 5th kind of mythic or something like that. But still worth considering if you still have the Spear Diamonds laying around. Anyways, I believe that is everything with the event, so let's go head over to just some various teams in PvP. So let's go show Firebombs real quick. As I mentioned, you do get 2 times Trait Stones when doing up against Firebomb, or not up against Firebombs, whenever you're doing a PvP battle with this. You'd want to do Firebombs, it makes it easier, but whenever you're in a PvP battle using the Barghast, basically you just go into any easy battle, go clear it out quickly, just let the Firebombs kill themselves out, and go from there. You can use a Greed to get even more resources. I have the Sparkle Sack to get even more gold off our Greed, which is why our cap is higher. He's giving a 100% gold bonus, which is basically doubling that. So that's pretty handy. If you don't have this, you can use anything with Merchant, which is 25%, obviously not as much, but still helpful. I put a Soul Blade on here because we got some souls if you wanted to, and we get 2 times Trait Stone off of this guy. So basically everything in this team is increasing the amount of resources we get. Also, you can set your hero to give you something like 10% extra EXP, or 1 glory, or souls per turn, or anything like that, which will help you get more resources in every single battle. But you basically just spam these into Firebombs, go into casual PvP, and just keep spamming it until you eventually find one, and that'll be the way to go. You don't want to do it in a normal PvP unless you just happen to see one, because it costs 1 gem, whereas if you repick in this, it only costs 50 gold, and you just do it until you find a Firebomb and just repeat the same thing over again. Sometimes takes a few, but it's worth it. You get way more gold from the battle, and then just do any of them, put on Warlord 4, and just keep grinding it out, and you just get 2 times Trait Stone every time, among the other resources. So that's one of the better ways to go and do that. Somehow we got 6 wins in a couple seconds. I don't know why, but it has been showing a lot more wins lately than normal. But anyways, let's go show a team with, oh no, the Divines. I will go show the Divine team as well. Should we go do that right now, just to show what it looks like weaker? Because of course Divine Ishbala now has the lower stats, and Ubistet as well. Well, let's actually go show it against this, right? He doesn't have immune to Fairy. I mean, he doesn't have immune to Burning, right? No, he does not. He doesn't have that annoying instant kill. But as far as a team to use with Barghast that actually isn't horrible, it is Alchemist, Moneylender, Yagwei, and Barghast. Basically, this is a standard kind of Yagwei team. If you don't have Yagwei, you can actually just double up on this. though it does work better if you do have a Yagway. Do keep in mind, this does not stack if you use multiple. So if you use 2 of them, it doesn't give you 3 times straight stones, it just gives you 2. There's no way to get more than 2 times. But we'll go and throw an Alchemist down to start getting this loop going. We got the gold we need now. We just need to go take a yellow. That skull is somewhat tempting because I know for sure if I don't take that skull, he's going to hit a 15% chance to instant kill us. So I'm going to go take that because knowing our luck, that will happen the second that we don't do that. So we'll go for that, get a nice moneylender down, and that should pretty much be matched. It gets our loop going. We can now throw Yagways if we need. We can preemptively throw this. We can get Alchemist down to keep cycling the board until we essentially just win with all the loop we have. This isn't as good as a Queen Titania version of this team, but it is good in the fact that it's a lot cheaper than getting a Queen Titania. And of course, you can just double up on this to make it even cheaper than that if you just want to go double up with the new troop. But basically what you do is you go and preemptively do this, and now Yagway will have enough damage to instantly kill both of them, and you just repeat that twice. Or if you have 2 of these, you just spam it 2 or 3 times, and the Barghast will do the exact same thing. The reason why Yagway's a little bit better than that, though, is he can potentially get board control that allows you to keep your turn. He also does slightly more damage than what the Barghast does. We'll go throw this down and just repeat the cycle again. You throw the Fairy Fires, you get them both Fairy Fired, then you throw the Yagway for the really big double hit, and it will kill pretty much anything in the game, assuming it can be Fairy Fired. Do keep in mind there are things immune to burning, immune to Fairy Fire that will be able to negate that out, as well as impervious and stuff. But assuming they don't have any protection against it, you could just use that. And here we go. We already see someone using the Catches the Bull method, as I already mentioned. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be switching into that. But we're going to go and do not that, and actually use the standard Divine team, and just see how bad it has gotten nerfed. So we'll go use Divine against Divine. And yeah, we'll just use the standard team, not even going to bother switching out into a Ketris, just so we could show all 3 nerfed troops. And of course, either Mercy or the Divine Protector, either or. And as you can see, right off the bat, we're already starting with less mana than what we would normally be. So much so, he's even using a half mana start on his hero instead, since you no longer have a half mana start on the Divine Protector anymore. I mean, on the Divine Ishbala. But basically, all of our manas are lower, their mana costs are also higher, and it's going to take a lot longer for us to really get rolling, regardless of what mana synergy we end up doing. One of the other ways to kind of negate this out is putting Divinia, putting Tetris, doing stuff like that. Using that combo is basically the new way of basically doing this, Divinia, Ketris. And then you just double cast Ketris. Divinia ends up giving it more HP, which equals more damage, and you'd still get a lot of reds because it would still end up getting... You'd basically just keep doing the Divine Protector. You get the Explosion off of that. You end up getting your mana. You throw Divinia, get even more Explosion. That also makes up for the Cleanse, because now this team no longer has Cleanse. It still has Cleanse on the Divine Protector, or if you use Mercy, that has Cleanse. But nothing else has Cleanse now, so you kind of need a Divinia in there if you want to still keep that mechanic, which is pretty important when you're up against Freeze or Death Marker, some kind of other similar mechanic like that that really needs to be cleansed off. But he'll go do his Protector thingy, we'll go throw Infernus, and see what we can do from there. We still have Ubistet. Even though his damage is lower, that is enough to still get the kill, I believe. Watch, it's not going to be enough. Oh no, it is still. Oh, come on, can you not get a billion bandits? Okay, we'll have a lot less damage because we're webbed, but he's even webbing us. There's something on him. But we'll go and, let's see, we'll go, I guess, just get a hit on you, so we stop getting webbed. It does, like, no damage, though, because of the web. Web basically makes your magic go down to 0 for its duration. Though we did just get a cleanse because of its ability thing. There we go, get that down. Go throw just a skull at it. Of course, another bandit. Why would there be anything other than another bandit? But we'll get that down, and after this, we'll go show one last team. It's a pretty bad team, but I still wanted to go show it. One team that just uses the new weapon. As I mentioned, the new weapon pretty much is obsolete, but you still might end up upgrading it because of the kingdom, so might as well show something for it. It's not really going to be used just because it's pretty inconsistent. It's really hard to get a lot of purples on the board. Really, anything that has a 13 gem requirement thing tends to not always be that viable. I'm going to go to a weaker battle here. Hopefully that's not too weak, but I mainly just want to show this for the sake of showing it. But let's go into this one. So we have Black Beast, the Tome maxed out, Umbra Wolf, and Stargazer. Is it that viable? No, but it's one of many kind of Black Beast team out there. Not one of the greater ones, but Black Beast teams are a really niche kind of instance where they're normally pretty mid-range as far as being able to build them, because he's only ultra rare and most of the stuff that you can synergize with it are relatively low rarity most of the time. But basically, like any Black Beast team, the whole premise is to make Black Beast as ridiculously big as humanly possible, and the way that we're going to be doing that is basically just by spamming its ability over and over again by getting some summons if we can. So we'll go get rid of that. We can even get rid of this if we really want to, because the Dark Storm does last for 4 turns after we actually kill it, so we could still go and kill it if we want to go try getting a double summon or something. And even if we don't have the 13 purple required in order to get the mass summons off of this book, it does still have 10%, assuming you had it up to the 6th upgrade. It's not really that good to get like a random Closet, because obviously Closet's really bad of a troop, but still it can help around if nothing else. And also this thing has damage now, so we can do that. Also, we have Giant Spider, which oddly enough can create more purples for us, but unfortunately we can't go summon because he ended up getting the spider there. If we didn't get the spider there, we would have been able to summon there. Come on, we can't even get a single summon. That does happen. That's the problem with needing 13. Yeah, we'll go wait. I think we can get, as long as he doesn't deny a purple here, I think we will be fine. And he does not deny a purple, so we'll go do this. There's 13 plus purple, so we will indeed get a summon. As you can see, we end up getting Gluttony there. Though the irony in that is he has immune to Devour, so I can't even do this now, because if I try devouring him, we won't be able to. But as I mentioned, the Dark Storm still lasts for 4 more turns, so we can go and kill that if we need to go alternate it in order to have 2 summons, or in case we get a Gluttony, apparently, and we need to have to do that. But we'll go take that over, go throw another little poke. Actually, we'll just take the skull. I don't know, is there 13 plus? No, there's not 13 plus. Can't even get that. Okay, I guess we'll use the weapon for it, might as well. But basically, that's the weapon. It's completely useless, but still, you need it for the Kingdom upgrade, or at least it's helpful for the Kingdom upgrade. And with how they currently add weapons into the game, they don't really re-add them, or at least not currently. So whenever you see a weapon like that, you generally want to pick it up. For only 1,000 glory, it's definitely worth it in the long run, so I would highly advise getting it, even though using it itself is pretty useless. But anyways, guys, that is everything for today. If you still have any other questions or anything you want me to go over, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Best of luck if you're going to be opening any event keys to try to get the new content. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. Goodbye, everyone.